Hello, good morning friends. Welcome back to your favorite channel Code One Digest. Today in this video, we will learn how to deploy a Mongo database in AWS ECS service. We'll learn what is AWS ECS service, Elastic Container Service, and how can you deploy and run your MongoDB into Elastic Container Service. Yes, friend, in this video, I'll teach you step by step how can you run and deploy MongoDB image into AWS Elastic Container Service. I'll teach you how to set up ECS service, then how to create Fargate instance, how to create task definition, and how to deploy MongoDB image from Docker Hub repository into ECS container. So friend, stay tuned. It is going to be very exciting and there is a lot of learning. People, those who wants to learn AWS cloud, this is a very important tutorial for them. I'll teach you easy and simple steps how to deploy and run MongoDB into AWS ECS container. And later, when this is done, we will be connecting that MongoDB running in AWS ECS cluster from our local machine. And we'll create database, we'll work on the database. Okay? So stay with me. Watch this video till end. It is going to be very, very exciting, friends. Okay, friends. So here is the agenda that we are going to cover in this video today. I'll give you introduction of AWS Elastic Container Service, ECS. What is ECS service? Why do we use it? How it is better than EC2 instance? Okay, so we have to understand that first. Why ECS service? Why not EC2 VM instance? Okay, then how to create and set up cluster in ECS. Then I will show you about Docker Hub repository. How can you download a MongoDB image from a Docker Hub repository? How can you download a particular tag of MongoDB from Docker Hub repository? Then I'll teach you how can you create and set up task definitions, how to run the task definition in a cluster that we have created above. And then finally, once cluster is up and running with our task definition, then we'll be connecting MongoDB in ECS container from our local machine, right? So we'll do all of this in simple and easy step. It is going to be very informative for you guys. So stay with me till end of this video. Okay, friends, so here is the architecture of what we are trying to achieve in this video today. So let's understand first the architecture so that we know what we are trying to achieve, what we are trying to do in this video today. So here you see the blue area is the AWS environment, and in that we are going to set up an Elastic Container Service. Okay, so this pink box is Elastic Container Service. In that Elastic Container Service, ECS service, we are going to deploy our MongoDB. So where the MongoDB is coming from? The MongoDB image is going to come from our Docker Hub repository where we will be downloading a particular tag of MongoDB image and that will come and run in ECS container service. And once this is done, once the cluster is up and running with our MongoDB, then we'll be connecting this MongoDB from our local machine. Okay, using Mongo Compass UI tool, we'll be connecting to this database. We'll perform certain operation on the database like creating a database, creating documents and etc. So we'll see all of that. So very simple agenda. We just want to deploy MongoDB image into ECS container and we'll see that how can we do it in easy steps. Okay friends, clear with me? Friends, before we proceed in this video, I request you to subscribe this channel to grow Code One Digest family. Friends, I am creating a lot of quality videos on programming, coding concepts, design pattern and design principles, cloud and container technologies, but I'm not getting subscribers. I request you to like, share and subscribe this channel so that I can grow our Code One Digest family. Thank you. Let me show you how can we deploy the MongoDB image in AWS ECS container cluster. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to log in into AWS console. So just do that. I'm logging into my account. You can follow with me, right? So I logged in with my account in AWS console management. right? So this is my console home. You can see, you can also log in. I have logged in with my credentials. So now here we have to use ECS service, that is Elastic Container Service. Elastic Container Service is a service that provides us the container service to deploy our container image. So in this video, as I told you, right, we are going to deploy the MongoDB image into a container and we'll access it from outside. So hence we'll be using this Elastic Container Service. And this service, we can choose to run it on EC2 instance, or we can select the serverless infrastructure, serverless architecture, that is Fargate. So we are going to use the Fargate instead of EC2 instance. So EC2 is the hardware that you can choose to use to deploy this Kubernetes cluster or ECS cluster. But in this demo, I am going to run it on a Fargate, that is serverless, where we don't have to worry about the infrastructure. We don't have to worry about the hardware. So in a search box, just search for ECS Elastic Container Service. As I've already searched it before, so it was showing on my home screen, but you can search with ECS or Elastic Container Service like this. So that service will show up. On click of that, you will land on the ECS service homepage. ECS service homepage, and this is the old view. I'm using the old view of AWS. So there is a toggle button here because I'm familiar with the old view of all the options. So hence I'm using it. If you are comfortable with the new view, you can turn it on and then use the all these options will be available in the new view. It just you have to search it. But I'm comfortable, I'm familiar with the old view. I know the where the options are, hence I'm proceeding with the old view. I have turned off the new ECS experience and I'm using with the new view. Click on the cluster. We have to create a cluster first. Cluster because as we are going to deploy our MongoDB image and any Docker image into a cluster, into a container, hence there will be many containers in future. So we need some orchestration tool to manage all these containers, right? So hence we will be using a Kubernetes cluster here to manage all these containers. So first thing we have to do is to create a cluster. Click on this create cluster button and we are going to select a template. We are going to select the network only template, resource to be created like cluster, VPC and subnets, right? You can also have EC2 Linux plus networking or EC2 Windows plus networking. Here you are going to ask for infrastructure. But here this is a network only because I am going to run it on a Fargate. I am going to proceed with the network only. Say next step. Now give a cluster name. So I am giving my container demo, right? And now just click on the create. It takes few seconds to create. Now we can see that cluster is created, right? This cluster is created and it's active, but it doesn't have any task. Okay. So the cluster is ready, but it doesn't have any task to perform. So now what we have to do is we have to create a task to perform. Now, before going to a task definition, let me show you what image I am going to deploy. Okay, open Docker Hub repository. You can log in into Docker Hub. Now, this is a Docker Hub repository where we have all the possible images available. This is my account, but even if you're not logged in into Docker, you can search Mongo DB. It will show you the official image of MongoDB that is available on Docker Hub repository. Yeah, so we'll go inside MongoDB and we'll finalize the tag that we are going to deploy in our container. So you see this is the MongoDB and there are various tags available. If you see here, we are going to use a Linux platform. So I will mostly you will use a Linux supported image. So I'm more aligned to, let me go and find a, yeah, I think I'll use this Jammy. This looks for Linux. I'll go and click this tag. Yes, so here we can say this is my image. This is my tag. So we'll just keep this open and then we'll proceed to create a task definition now. So let me go and create the task definition. So how this ECS service works is, first we have to create a cluster and then we have to create a task definitions. The task, we can have a multiple task definition running in this cluster. So as we have already created a cluster, it's time for us to create a task definition. So click on this task definition on your left hand side options, and then you see we don't have any task definition created. Just click on create new task definition and select the compatibility type. So we are now going to run on Fargate, that is serverless service. It is serverless service. We don't have to worry about infrastructure. If we go for EC2, then you are going to get a virtual machine where your cluster will or your task will deploy. But we are going to go ahead with the Fargate for this demo. Now I'll go next step, give a task definition name. So I will say MongoDB task definition, right? Fargate. Task role, leave it as is. Network mode, leave it as is. Then operating system family, leave it as is. Yes, task size. So here select the 1 GB should be enough for your MongoDB, and take 0.25 CPU should be okay, or at least take zero point 0.5 CPU, vCPU, I think should be okay. Now, after deciding on a size, go for and add one container. We are going to add a container where this will get deployed. So I'll say MongoDB container, MongoDB container. Now here we have to give the repository and the image tag. So we have to give this tag now. We can copy this. You can also copy this and paste it here. So we just have to remove the docker pull command. Yeah, like this, you can paste it. As is a public repository, we don't need authentication, so leave it. This way is not required. And memory allocation we can give, we can say 256. And port mapping, this is important because we know we want to do a port mapping. We want to access the MongoDB outside the Docker container, and Docker and our MongoDB runs on 27017 as a default port. Hence, we have to create a port mapping 27017, right? TCP add port. Yes, so this is added. One port is okay. Rest thing I'm leaving default. I'm not checking anything. This is mostly for health and monitoring purpose. If you want, you can fill it up, but without that also we are good. I have added a container. This is fine. Now other information I can leave as is, with the default, and I can say create this task definition. So this is a second step, right? Okay. So first step is we create a cluster. Okay. So first step is we create a cluster. Second step is we create a task definition. And third step is we have to run this task definition into a cluster. So now we'll see that. So view this task definition. So this task definition is whatever we have selected, all that information is here. Now we are now going to a third step, that is running this task. Okay. So in this action button, in the action, we have the option to run that task. We have already created task definition. Now we are in the third step where we have to run this task. Hence, click on this action menu and click run task. When you say run task, then it will ask you to fill few information. How are you going to run this task? I'll select a launch type is a Fargate because I want to run it on a serverless thing. I don't want to have any maintenance of my infrastructure. Hence, I'm going with a serverless Fargate. Now select the operating system family that I am going to use Linux because we have selected Linux image. Then task definition family, this is okay, version is okay, cluster is this. These are going to run in my cluster, my container demo. Number of task one, I am just creating one task. Now here select a default VPC and default subnet. Please select that. Security group is important. Here we have to edit the security group to create few inbound rules. So for the traffic to access it from outside, we have to create certain inbound rules. If you see, there is an inbound rule section available in the security group. So right now they are just accepting any traffic on 80 ports. But as I said, we are running MongoDB runs on 27017 port. Hence, we have to create a rule to accept that traffic coming on that port. So add rule and search for custom TCP. You have to select the custom TCP. It is there. If you just type C, it will be available custom TCP, custom UDP. Just select custom TCP and give 27017 port here. This is important. If you don't do this, then you will not be able to connect to your MongoDB in AWS ECS service from remote location from your local. So this is important step. This port will now open for you to connect to MongoDB. Once this security group is edited, we are good. Rest of the things we can say OK and click on the run task. Once you click the run task, it is saying that it's active. Now it's provisioning. You can refresh from this table. It takes some time for initializing the resources for you, the servers for you. It give a minute, the latest status, unless until the latest status come to a running state. You can click on this task ID and go inside and see the status as well. Now it says it's running. Latest status is running. It is now up and running, right? And this is a public IP of that container. We can access it on this IP. We'll do that. You can see the logs here, basic log, which is available here. If you have any error, you can see that. Now what I'll do is I'll try to connect to this MongoDB from my local. Okay, so we will need this public IP. I'll copy this public IP and I'll open a Mongo Compass and try to connect to this database. Okay, so now we have already created a task and started running that task definition. So what we'll do is we'll take this public IP and we'll try to connect to the database from our local. Let me open a Mongo Compass. It's a Mongo provided GUI tool. Using that, we can connect and query the databases. So let me create a new connection here. So I have to place this, paste that IP address here and just validate the port is 27017 and this is the IP and click on connect. So see, we are successfully connected to the database which is running in a container, right? So you see their default three databases are already there, admin, config and local. Now what we'll do is we'll create our dummy database and we'll try to add some document. Let's say my MongoDB demo. DB, right? My demo collection, right? Create DB. So this DB is created, and this is the table. Collection is is kind of a table. Here we call it collection. It will have a list of documents, but it is similar to a table in our RDBMS. Now what we can do is we can insert one document. I can say name Pavan, age 30, role admin. Yeah, let us insert, and it is going to have ID of this. Yes. See, so the document is inserted with the name, age, and role, and this is the primary key. This is the ID of that document. Same way, we can create as many document we want, and now you can perform the operation on this database. So this database is now running in your container that you have defined. Let me see a log. If we can see something here. It also have one important feature that we can watch the logs of deployed application on a CloudWatch. You can open that in a new tab and see that is the detail and live log representation of your application. Let us see if we are able to see the logs here for MongoDB. Yes. So these are all the logs that is generated by MongoDB, and it's available here. Right, friends? As I've shown you, there are three steps to deploy MongoDB into ECS container, into ECS service. First thing is you have to create a cluster. Second thing is you have to create a task definition. Third is you have to run the task definition in a cluster. So in these three steps, you will be able to deploy a MongoDB image into a container, and then you will be able to connect it from your local. It is very simple, right? I hope you followed me and then you are able to do it. If you are not able to do it, please drop me a comment on this video and I'll try to help you out. In these three simple steps, you will be able to run MongoDB in a ECS service, AWS ECS service. Right, friends?
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Good plan. Good talk, all right?
Okay, friends. So now let me summarize what we learned in this video today. I gave you introduction of AWS Elastic Container Service. What is Elastic Container Service? How it is better than EC2 instance, because we can easily scale up, scale down the containers within the Elastic Container Service, and we can manage this ECS through Elastic Kubernetes service. So Kubernetes we can use to manage all these containers easily, seamlessly using YAML files and so on. So we need not to worry about infrastructure. If we go with EC2, then we have to worry about infrastructure and upscale and downscaling those instances. But here it's very quick, very easy. We can do that with simple commands. Then I shown you how to create and set up cluster. Then I explained you what is Docker Hub repository. How can you download a MongoDB image from Docker repository? What is image tag and all of that? So we saw how can you download it from Docker repository. Then we have created a task definition to run and deploy this MongoDB image into a cluster created above. Then finally we run that task definition in a cluster. Later we connected MongoDB running in ECS instance, ECS service from our local, and we perform certain operation on a database. Right, friends? I hope this video was informative and exciting for you. I hope you learn how to deploy MongoDB into ECS instance. If you have any query or any doubt, you can please post your query in a comment section. I'll try to reply as soon as possible. Right, friends? So if you like this video, so give it a thumbs up And if you're new to the channel, so do subscribe to our channel to grow Code One Digest family. Friends, if you like this video, so give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for the more interesting videos. Click on the bell icon for the latest video notifications and do not forget to share this video with all your friends and colleagues. This is very useful information for students, beginners, and software engineers. I am putting a lot of efforts in creating these contents, so please help me growing the Code One Digest family. Please subscribe to Code One Digest channel for the latest programming and technology related videos. Thank you.